Although the Texans defeated Mexico and achieved independence, it was immediately evident that they did not necessarily want to be an independent country on a permanent basis. In addition to ratifying the Constitution and electing Sam Houston as the Republic of Texas's first president, voters overwhelmingly supported its annexation to the United States. Texans had numerous reasons to do so. The United States offered immediate protection against Mexico, which constantly threatened them. Texans also had a stronger connection to the United States than to Texas. Annexation would also mean greater landfalls for landowners. Veterans of the Revolution received hundreds of acres for their service, and joining the United States would bring in more people, thus increasing the demand for land and land prices. Texas would financially benefit since the war destroyed numerous towns and was more than $1 million in debt. Of course, the United States would have to agree to it. The cause for Texas annexation suffered from bad timing. It was the 1830s, and the American debate on slavery began to heat up. In that decade, the abolitionist movement rose, which was more radical than older anti-slavery movements. Following Texas independence, abolitionist Benjamin Lundy published The History of the Texas Revolution. Its subtitle said it all, describing it as part of an effort to perpetuate slavery. There would be anti-Texas meetings in the North, which contributed to stopping it from immediately joining the United States. Although much of the South supported annexation, there was a political dimension to some having reservations. Texas would become competition to the other cotton states. Americans would move there and thus potentially lessen the older states' political representation in Congress. Northerners had a similar concern. In addition to opposing slavery, they feared that adding another slave state would mean more slave senators in the United States Senate. Texas is a huge area, and there was the potential that more than one state would enter the Union. Each state would bring in more senators, giving the slave states more power in the Senate. What united North and South, though, was the potential to anger Mexico. The Mexican government did not recognize Texas's independence, so annexation would be tantamount to claiming foreign territory, a declaration of war. Thus, when Texas petitioned for annexation, Southern support would be insufficient to pass any treaty in the Senate, and support from Northern senators would be difficult to get. Sam Houston assumed the presidency in October 1836, and he faced a myriad of issues. The U.S. was the only country recognizing Texas as independent, which was the last decision Andrew Jackson would make as president. Texas was in debt, and Texans borrowed money to pay for the war. In addition, Mexico's obstinance made it difficult for other nations to accept Texas's independence. Houston thus pursued policies to stabilize his country. He advocated peaceful relations with Texas Indians since peace is less expensive than war. Houston had a history of amicable relations with Indians. He even lived with the Cherokee for 3 years. He made peace with most of the tribes. Another policy would be to gain diplomatic recognition from other countries. American recognition did not come with many benefits, as the U.S. refused to loan it money and impose tariffs on Texas cotton. Great Britain's support would be a major achievement since the British purchased the most cotton in order to supply their textile mills. The challenge, though, was that the British were the foremost anti-slavery nation, and recognizing a slaveholders' republic would be a challenge. The Texas emissary appealed to Britain's demand for cotton, but the British did not ignore Texas's protections of slavery. Other European countries followed Britain's lead. Thus, Texas could not sell cotton and pay off its loans. The Republic resorted to printing money to the point that a Texas dollar traded for 15 cents, and Texas stopped accepting its own money to pay off debts. By the end of Houston's term in 1838, he had only secured peace with Texas Indians. By then, the Texas national debt had increased to $3 million without any way to pay for it.